Hi everyone, it's Alexandra, thank you for tuning in. I'm assuming if you're here, you're probably familiar with my content, and if you're new, I suggest catching up on my other videos, as all of this commentary builds on the other updates and the videos I've made. You can check out my main research channel, linked below. And you could check out videos like the Cult of Kek, that explains the origin of the whole 17 movement, and part 3 of my Mind Game series, that explains the two sides, the dark and the light, of the occult. I also have a suggested viewing order playlist that you can check out. All of my videos are on BitChute, and I also have a backup channel you can follow in case mine gets taken down. If you'd like to support me, consider a Venmo or a Ko-fi donation. I really appreciate it. All of these links will be in the description below. That being said, I wasn't planning to make an update yet because nothing is much different than my last update, but I know so many of you have asked me to make one. So here we are. So what's been going on since my last update? Well, not much has changed, but it all moves pretty slow due to the legal aspects right now. The end goal is the end goal. That's usually what I focus on. Minutia-wise, my goodness, it has been a wild ride seeing it all unfold. I have no idea how the end goal will be reached. Never did. But seeing it play out is fascinating. We're going to focus on the big picture today. There's too much going on right now to comment on everything, and for most people, there's too much going on to know what's going on. That's the point. Right now is a major distract and divert technique. The biggest thing to focus on is the election, or more specifically, the post-election questions that are starting to be answered. None of the other things would be as horrible without this problem. It takes a while, but nothing is going to stop this. It's impossible to sweep under the rug, as too many safeguards have been put in place. This isn't based on my opinion or what I want to happen. I'm very anti-45 and anti-17 and anti-Light World Order and Dark World Order. I don't want anything except for Jesus to return. I don't have a horse in this race, and honestly, neither should you. But I do think it's responsible to report on what's going on. You guys remember this? Yeah, the whole thing has been leading up to this. There are still 17 proofs taking place and tons of drops about what happens post-45, and essentially all that we're seeing now. That is, people who are actually paying attention. Those who continually dismiss 17 just show that they never understood it or critically examined it in the first place. That's not an argument I care to have. If you care, you'll do the research. And badly done pieces of propaganda won't stop you from looking at the actual information. You know why this election is important? Because of the fraudulent election, we're going through what we're going through. Let's focus on the fire, not on the smoke. The world is being shown, not told, what the dark side players do to our lives. Before you can understand where we are, you need to understand how we got here. That being said, let's get started. On December 20th of 2020, 45 retweeted this tweet from Anon CJ Truth. It was a but they were busted. Sting of the century. Justice is coming. 45 just retweeted CJ Truth saying that the election was a sting-up. That same day, someone who calls himself Helper posted on the boards. Many Anons believe Helper is Ezra Cohen, who served as acting Undersecretary of Defense for Intelligence and Security during the 45 administration. They think it's him because Ezra means helper in Hebrew. This post said that 17 would not post again on the boards. And they haven't. And that they're in a critical phase of their operation that would need to run silent. He also says they prepared since 2015 for this exact moment, and that 45 legally won the election. And what comes next is the biggest mop-up job in the history of the world. Dan Scavino, former White House Deputy Chief of Staff and Director of Social Media, for those of you who don't know, there are things called DanComs, or Dan Communications, because he gives cryptic and unique information regarding the information war we're in. This is an example of DanComs from March 13th of 2021. Anon saw the 71 on the ship and mirrored it to 17. 17 always said, think mirror. So that's what they do. It's comms after all. You need to decode comms. Not only that, but the video was taken from the Military Life YouTube account. It's a video that shows the same ship, which is the USS Teddy Roosevelt, and is titled, The End is Near. But wait, there's more. Dan posted it one day before a 2-year delta with this drop. A delta has to do with the date. It's like a confirmation. Dan posted his video almost exactly 2 years to the day from the original post that said, the end is near. On April 24th of 2021, Dan reposted a picture originally posted by 45 on Air Force One on November 8th of 2017. That picture has become famous in the 17 community because if one traces all the thumb ups, they make a 17. Also, its file name begins with DOITQ, or do it, 17. 17 acknowledged the photo and file name in post 244. And again a year later. So when Dan posts, Anons listen. On April 24th of 2021, Dan posted this. The election on Maricopa County, Arizona is historic. Mainstream media doesn't seem to want to cover it, but it is underway. Will be a couple of weeks. One falls, they all fall. Hashtag election integrity. Obviously, it's been more than a couple of weeks. Dan says the election is historic and that when one falls, they all fall, meaning other states will follow. I know it can be frustrating to wait. Honestly, it's taken a lot longer to get to this point than I thought. But what I really want you to understand with everything we're talking about is most of these public posts are not meant for the general public. We are in an information war, and these are the tools of that war. So when Dan says, a couple of weeks, this puts the opposing forces on notice, and they make mistakes because they think they only have a short time to act. Essentially, one side is forcing the other's hand. It's a power move. It keeps them off balance. Dan isn't the only one that communicates with the original Anons. General Flynn does too.
What we have created, and I like to call them digital soldiers, we've created a voice for the voiceless. And people in this country, I like to say, we have a digital army, and that digital army consists of millions and millions and millions of digital soldiers who are out there leveraging the different social mediums, the different networks, the different places in their own communities where they are seeking the truth, they are discovering the truth, and then they are turning around and analyzing and getting that truth out.
On April 16th, Flynn said this.
All these politicians that are marching across stages like I'm marching across this stage right now, and that are starting to tout whether or not they're going to run for president in 2024, don't give them the time of day and don't give them a dime. We have a president.
And on May 29th of 2021, at another event, Flynn said this.
Trump won. He won. He won the popular vote. He won the popular vote, and he won the Electoral College vote.
Anyone looking to 2022 or 2024 is part of the problem. This whole exercise is to prove to the people that 2022 and 2024 won't matter if you don't fix what happened in 2020. Flynn was on record saying this. Look at the banner. That's not a slogan. That's the operation. The whole point is the integrity of the system. Voter integrity is an integral part of NESARA. Lynn Wood, a 17th supporter and a light side player working with Flynn et al., believes 45 will enact this law.
I do believe that the law is real. I do believe the law is necessary for the long-term survival of our country from an economic standpoint and, more importantly, from a freedom standpoint where you return government to the people. So I do believe that Donald Trump will, in fact, I've heard it called Nasaurus and Jasaurus, I believe also, but I believe that he will enact that.
We've covered this extensively on my channels, but a lot of people misunderstand this term because there is a lot, and I mean a lot, of disinfo regarding NESARA. And that's on purpose, of course. The New Age has hijacked it and purposefully spread a lot of disinfo too. Honestly, it doesn't matter what it's called. The idea proposed in NESARA has been around since at least the 1750s with the creation of the St. Germain World Trust. The end game to all of this is decentralization of all banks, a worldwide asset-backed currency, quantum supremacy, suppressed patent releases, debt forgiveness, no sales tax except on new items, and quantum blockchain security, which is part of the whole security part. The biggest part of NESARA is the return of constitutional law. After the Republic is restored, in the U.S., that's when JASARA comes in and does the same worldwide. It's the antithesis to the present-day system. It's the light to the dark. It's the white to the black. And that's not a good thing. We'll talk about that when the time gets closer. We've got a lot left to get through first. For now, the point is that all these entities work together. These ingredients cannot be separated. What this has done is it's gotten people involved. Your constitutional rights are gone. Are you mad? Scared? They want you to be. You don't appreciate what you have until it's gone. They're not your heroes if they aren't saving you from something. Unfortunately, the American people and the people of the world are being shown what happens when those rights are removed. As I talked about in Republic Rising, this is all setting us up for a Deus Ex Machina moment, a godlike figure to come in and save the day.
Mr. Trump!
Yes,
Are you Batman?
I am Batman.
I'm waiting for this day. The day when Donald J. Trump walks out on the stage in front of the masses and looks at you and says, I never left. Because he didn't leave you. He did not leave you.
I'm pleased to announce the second coming of President Donald J. Trump.
I am the chosen one.
This is not the God I'm waiting for. You can check out my other videos for my breakdowns and opinions on this whole light movement and why it's not the savior that everyone wants it to be. At the highest levels, like in cults, the abuser is in control of the options. And at the highest level, the tier of architects that I described in part 7 of my program series wants to implement Nasara or Jasara. This is how we get to it, via dialectics. What value would any of this have if it were just shoved onto humanity? That's never how things have worked, from monarchies to banking to wars. Everything is achieved via the dialectic method of problem, reaction, solution. This induction to this cult-like world we live in now would not have been possible without disrupting and destroying life as we knew it before. That's the initiation phase. Lockdowns were part of the initiation phase that I talked about in my video Problem Reaction Reset. I also suggest checking out the end of part 1 of my program series, Social Contagion, where I describe exactly why this past year has been an initiation into a cult. In the occult mysteries, initiations usually follow the philosophy of dark to light. This is from June 5th of this year.
I want to thank everybody for the tremendous support you've shown. We're going to take back the Senate, take back the House, we're going to take back the White House, and sooner than you think. It's going to be really something special. But the love and the affection and the respect that you've given all of us, it's really important. The Republican Party is stronger than it's ever been, and it's going to be a lot stronger than it is right now. We're going to turn it around. We're going to turn it around fast. Thank you all very much. That support has been so incredible. Thank you.
And this summer he started doing rallies, which is unheard of for a former president. On June 5th in Sarasota, Florida, he said,
I wonder what I will be proved right about next. Perhaps it will be the election. Perhaps. We changed the world. We gained respect all over the world for our country again. And wait till you see what's going to happen, because great, great things are going to happen for our country. Great things. But there's never been anything like it.
And now, 3 months later, Arizona State Senator Wendy Rogers says that a draft of the that was performed over the summer will be fully examined by the state Senate, and then the results will be presented to the state Senate, judiciary, and the public. That will be the first domino of many others. There are other states like Pennsylvania, Michigan, Wisconsin, and Georgia that are attempting to have their November 3rd counts checked, but so far, none have been able to get as far as Arizona did. But this is only going to get so far because the higher-ups have everything to lose. You only need one to vitiate the entire thing. Vitiate means to make legally defective or invalid, to invalidate. That could possibly render the 2020 results null and void, and any policies or executive orders made as a result of it. The Secretary of State of Arizona, as well as the Election Board, will not allow the Arizona senators to see the routers. Or what shows where the information was going November 3rd. For example, talking to other computers and if it was connected to the internet or not.
The county has refused to produce the network routers. We want the routers, Sonny. The county refused to produce the network routers. Wendy, we gotta get those routers.
Speaking of routers, the Attorney General of Arizona recently said that the county must comply with the Senate subpoena or lose all of its state funding. Attorney General Mark Brnovich issued the decision after a Republican senator asked him if Maricopa County's refusal to hand over routers, passwords, and other items the Senate says it needs to complete the unprecedented partisan review violated state law. Georgia is a little different. They're not in line for an audit yet, but they are involved in a lawsuit. Remember when they closed the Fulton County Arena due to a water main break around 11 p.m. November 3rd, and a handful of people stayed behind and kept counting? Well, the people who stayed behind are now involved in a civil action lawsuit. A motion was granted to add several people who stayed behind, as well as an organization called Happy Faces Personnel, hired by Stacey Abrams. Happy Faces Personnel sent temporary workers to help with the count, and now some of those workers are included in the lawsuit. According to the lawsuit, the respondents, or the people who stayed behind and counted votes, did not file a response by August 2nd, as they had been ordered to do by the court. This order issued by the court says that since the people accused of fraud during the vote counting did not respond to a court order, they are now added to the Superior Court's lawsuit and can't get out of it. They will have to appear before the judge soon. Also, according to the Georgia record, the registration chief for 12 years recently resigned. He was also in the room with the others counting overnight. Don't think these states are the only avenue to prove fraud either. The dark is in check in all facets. This is one chessboard of many that is being actively played. They are cornered on all boards, and that's the point I want to drive home. Any avenue, any direction, the light has already countered the dark. In chess, you're not one move ahead of your opponent. You better be 6 or 7 moves ahead. When you're in check, or your opponent is, you know way before the audience figures it out. What do you do at that point? You just run out the clock and hope your opponent makes a mistake. Who are some of the people behind the Domino Smartmatic Seidel voting machines in question that are used all over the country and in many parts of the world? CodeMonkey quotes Mark Malloch Brown, chairman of CGO Corporation Limited, a holding company of Smartmatic, as saying, "The fact is, yes, part of our technology is licensed from Dominion." Nothing to see here. Smartmatic tweeted on June 23rd of 2015, "Our CEO introduces Bill Gates to Smartmatic's efforts to improve elections around the world." It's one big happy family. Emerald Robinson from Newsmax tweeted, "A national security source confirms to me that a piece of hardware has been secured from Germany." By piece of hardware, she means voting machines. And from the boards, Soros-funded Seidel servers obtained by U.S. Army in Frankfurt. The Dark World Order is running the worldwide election system. Why do you think we have the leaders we have? Everyone should be aware of this. This is another reason why there is no 2024 or 2022 without fixing 2020. Do you guys realize that? This isn't over. It hasn't even started yet. President Trump signed Executive Order number 13848 on September 12 of 2018, which put the U.S. under a state of national emergency and specifically states the sanctions the U.S. will impose on foreign interference in a United States election. On September 10th of 2020, the executive order was extended for 1 more year. The executive order also detailed the steps the Director of National Intelligence would take to determine whether or not there was foreign interference in the U.S. elections.
Director of National Intelligence John Ratcliffe assessed that China interfered in the 2020 U.S. federal elections, according to a letter transmitted to Congress. In the letter, Ratcliffe alleges that intelligence about China's interference was suppressed by management at the CIA, which pressured analysts to withdraw their support for the view. Citing a report by the intelligence community analytic ombudsman Barry Zulauf, the Director of National Intelligence said some analysts were reluctant to describe China's actions as election interference because they disagreed with the policies of President Donald Trump.
In essence, DNI Radcliffe delivered his classified version of this document to 45, stating that China did indeed interfere. What that means is 45 knew before he left office of this meddling, which triggered his executive order, which sanctions things like their money and property in the U.S. and anyone who helped them. Link to the folio is below. A theory proposes that because 45 knew of this interference, he was legally able to set up secondary command because of the national security threat posed to the U.S. detailed in his executive order. This was only possible because of the national emergency status that was also in his EO. The theory goes on to explain the continuation of government level went from 4 to 2. It's a backward scale, so it's escalated. They have repositioned military assets, and Space Force most likely was following the cyber trail on November 3rd and has all the info. It's space as in cyberspace, not outer space. 45 created his own agency for this purpose because the other three-letter agencies are corrupt. Someone asked 17 on the boards, 17, please tell us who or what the wizards and warlocks are. 17 responds, Guardians of Intelligence. And Space Force calls themselves the Guardians. The theory ends with something called devolution, which refers to the delegation of powers from a central government to a regional or local entity. It also suggests that 45 and the military have established regional hubs of government authority, and this fact is known only to those directly involved. It also proposes that 45 put this in place and remains Commander-in-Chief, even though Joe appears to be in charge. You can read about this theory in the links below titled Theory Part 1 and Theory Part 2.